Hey, this is Matt from InvestiQuant. Today is Wednesday, January 6, 2021. And today we have been off to the races since the open. We have a trend day forming, large ranges happening on this trend day. We had good volume early on, which is trying to carry out throughout the session, but a very strong market today where we opened within the prior day range. And after a quick blip lower, we have driven higher. We are actually trading up at all-time highs right now. Russell up almost 5%. Huge move in the Russell today. We've got the Dow up close to 2%, the S&P close to 1.5%, and a little bit of lagging by the NASDAQ, which is still down on the session. There was some really interesting divergences there early on between some of these markets. But what we want to look at this afternoon is trend day activity. So we're going to do that based upon the pattern like we're seeing here in the S&P. Let me go ahead and hop into Discover and set this up. We're going to look at it here in all four instruments. The setup's going to be based upon entering the market long at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close, which is 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. For the opening filter today, I'm going to use open in the prior day range. We didn't have a big gap this morning relative to today's range, I guess. It was a good size gap. I don't want to say it was small by any means, but it wasn't like a giant gap and go type scenario. We had a reasonable down gap that took off to the upside in the ES, and we did kind of have mixed opens across the board. But we opened in yesterday's range, and that was the main piece that I'm wanting to add here. And then I want to go into post-open filters, and I want to describe this trend day activity that we're seeing. And the way I'm going to do that is simply saying that the open is in the bottom 25% of the intraday range. So I'm going to hit equals here for where is the open relative to its intraday range. Next to open and bottom 25% of the range. And then this intraday close versus intraday range, I'm going to click equals next to open, next to close, in top 25% of the intraday range. And that means the 3 p.m. price is in the top quartile of its intraday range. Now I'm going to go up into this section that looks at the 10-day average range. So this section right up top, we have a huge range going, and our range is greater than 150% of the relative 10-day average range is for a similar period here, or at least we're on pace to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and assume we're going to still be at 150% of relative ranges at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So giant ranges, directional candlestick pattern taking place here. And then lastly, I'm just going to put this above a 200, try to keep as many samples as possible, and click View Results. And here we go. These are the results of going long at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time, when you have a trend day forming after opening within the prior day range and above a 200-day simple moving average. And I'm defining that trend day as open in the bottom 25% of the range and trading in the top 25% of the range at 3 p.m. with at least 150% of the 10-day average range for that same time period between the open and 3 p.m. So these results actually surprised me quite a bit. They were not what I expected. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. Sample sizes here, first of all, S&P 42 samples, 32 in the NASDAQ, 40 in the Dow, 28 in the Russell. And what was so surprising is a couple of these are really weak. I wouldn't have guessed that. So the S&P coming in just under 30% winners here, 29% winners. And the Dow, 35% winners. So two of these are really weak. The other two are pretty neutral. But you know, I was thinking just looking at this pattern, I would have assumed that it would have been probably a 60% win rate, and I was just totally off. So it's always nice to be able to test this data and actually find out, because I would have been wrong. If we take a look at the average win, average loss, see the average win is bigger than the average loss here in the S&P. That is also true for the NASDAQ. That is true for the Dow and true for the Russell. So even though on average the win rates are weaker, the average wins are bigger with this pattern. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. Good luck the rest of the day, and we will see you in the morning.